Hey folks, welcome back to the farm. Today, after mowing, we're going to do some trimming with the DR Power Equipment 22-inch trimmer. This is the premier model, picked up from Tractor Supply. It has a 22-inch cut, and it uses just normal, although a little bit better quality, string. Okay, so if you need to change your strings, these ones are not that bad, but I can't get the same reach with them. So to replace the strings, all you need to do is push them back out like that. Repeat the other side. Now, doing this while they're still a little bit long, I find is easier than waiting for them to be completely bare. Well, these notches here are your different height settings. So this would be 2 inches. Don't quote me on that, but I think this is around 2 inches, and then it goes up from there. Now, I keep a couple spare lengths of string in my pocket just for this, so while I'm out in the yard I don't have to go back for them. And to put these in, you're going to find the height that you want and insert them into the perimeter holes, and they'll start to feed through the inside. Now when you pull these through, you want to keep them around the same length on the ends. You want to be even. And the loop is going to go into the notch above where your cutting strings are. So that notch there is going to go into the notch above. Pull that tight. Sometimes you got to keep pressure on the string while you pull that tight. Then just repeat on the other side. All right, so another good application for this DR string trimmer is right around this spring. So this little stream of water, this little creek, stays wet pretty much year round. Sometimes it'll freeze in the winter, but the ditch banks of it can be very difficult to mow, and because the ground is so soft, it's really hard to even push mow. So using a string trimmer is really the best bet here, but because of the length of it and how wide each of the banks are, it can take a while to do it with a regular string trimmer. This knocks it out in no time. All right, so we got a bunch of weed whacking done all around that spring, around some of the bushes in the front of the yard. There's just a ton to do here. If you have a couple acres like we do, you probably know that doing the trimming after mowing probably takes much longer than mowing itself. So that final 20% is usually the hardest to do in anything, and I find with yard work that is the case too. So we're all done trimming for today, but there's something else I want you to see and I could use your help with. All right, so here, we're going into the barn. Sorry about the lighting. So this is it. This is the 1949 Ford 8N that I picked up a couple weeks ago, and it's in pretty good shape, but it does need a few things. So it's already converted to 12 volt. It has an electronic ignition, doesn't have points in the distributor, and it runs, drives, stops. But before I really put it to work, I want to give it a once over. So I'm going to be replacing the coolant, the engine oil, and the hydraulic oil. So if you have an 8N, 9N, 2N, you're familiar with the fact that the transmission and the hydraulics are a common sump, so they share the same oil. So I'm finding a couple different options for the transmission and hydraulic oil. From Tractor Supply, there's that Traveler brand that's made specifically for old Ford tractors, and then they have their own house brand of universal tractor trans and hydraulic fluid. I've read a little bit on the forums, and some people swear by one or the other, or a third option actually. So put down in the comments if you have an 8N, 9N, 2N, what transmission and hydraulic oil do you use for your Ford tractor? Something else I might need to do for this one, I might actually have to take out the top plate and take a look at some of the hydraulics. So the hydraulics are very slow up. They stay up pretty reliably. They do sink down kind of slowly, but the up is very, very slow. So I'm hoping that, it's been sitting for a while, so I'm hoping that working the hydraulics with some new fluid in will help it. But if you have any experience with that and you have a pro tip for that, let me know. I've watched all of Rachel's videos, so I have some idea what I'd be doing once I get the top plate off, but any help that you guys can give me would be appreciated. So I got one more thing that I'm excited to tell you guys about. Coming up here by the old maple syrup building, and right here is going to be the spot of our garden. So we finally got our Premier 1 electric fence netting in today, so we can actually start planting with some confidence that the rabbits and the deer and the animals are not going to just come eat all of our garden. So here I have some things that we're going to fill the raised beds with. We are doing raised beds, and we're going to fill it with progressively smaller material. We have some large wood chunks, some split firewood, just some small branches that are cut up, smaller twigs, and then finally some leaves and real small woody stuff. That is also going to be topped with a mix of organic raised bed and organic compost. So I'm sure I could source that locally in some kind of bulk, but that was convenient at the time. So right here, this is going to be where we do our raised beds. I'm thinking 3 or 4. There's going to be a mix of kind of what we like to eat. And that's really what you should plan to garden if you're going to garden, is plan for what you like to eat. Having a garden of things that you're not going to eat isn't going to help you. So we're going to have a few different varieties of tomatoes, Roma, San Marzino, and I think it's a beefsteak. I think it's called just a general tomato. We got some bell peppers, because we like a lot of stuffed peppers here. We're going to do corn and potatoes. So we have a few different kinds of potatoes. We got our seed potatoes. We're running really behind on the garden this year. This is actually the first time that we're going to garden, and we're behind. So the potatoes should have been in already. A lot of things should have been in already. We started everything from seed, and the seeds are developing, but slower than anticipated. So again, we're behind. But now that we got the electric fence and we got the supplies to do the raised beds, we'll be getting that going. So stick around, and that video will be coming out shortly. So like always, if you enjoyed this video, if you found value in it, go ahead, hit that like button, and don't forget to subscribe. See you on the next one.